A young woman survives a plane crash in the middle of the Canadian wilderness. To stay alive, she must learn to deal with nature and her own demons. Liv Rivera, a young lawyer, is trying to get to Inuvik, Canada, for a wedding. She is delayed and her flight is cancelled due to bad weather at the small Outer Rapids airport, where she is connecting. She tries to find another way to get there, but everything is full. Just as she's about to give up, she hears two guys talking about how they're going to a place after Inuvik on a private flight. She runs up to the guys and asks for a ride, but the two of them are against taking her, and even though she offers them both $1,000, they don't accept. She starts pleading with them both loudly, and soon a policeman approaches them, and immediately the two guys change their minds and take her. In the small aircraft, the weather doesn't help. A turbulence moves the plane a lot. Sam talks to her for a moment and tells her that they both work for National Geographic, and she tries to relax right after being asked why she wants to get to Inuvik so quickly. But she doesn't have any answers, and she listens to her breathing guide to stay calm and relaxed. She's woken up by the plane's engines breaking down, and it's already flying low. There, the two guys have nowhere to land, and they steer the plane into a lake. Liv manages to buckle up before it hits the water. She wakes up upside down and immediately tries to help Sam, who is trapped in his seatbelt. He shows desperation, saying that he can't swim. George, the pilot, wakes up saying that his leg is trapped, and there she can see that his leg has been punctured. Desperate, Sam doesn't think before opening one of the windows, which makes the plane sink faster. Liv tries to save the pilot before the plane sinks, so she asks him to hold his breath while she tries to remove the metal bar. But the pilot is in so much pain that he can't stand it and drowns. With the plane at the bottom of the lake, Liv struggles to get to the surface, and as soon as she catches her first breath, she sees Sam drowning and asks for help. He is so desperate that when Liv tries to help him, she almost drowns too. The two of them only manage to get out of there when Liv asks him to calm down and just flap his legs, while she struggles to get to the edge. Sam loses his strength in the freezing water and arrives at the edge unconscious. Liv, completely exhausted, goes to check on Sam, who doesn't answer, and soon realizes that his leg has been hit by a sharp piece of metal, losing a lot of blood. As soon as she tries to remove it, Sam wakes up in pain. She has to make a tourniquet to try to stop the bleeding immediately. Tries to use his belt, and still weak, Sam faints again. Without the strength to lock the belt, she uses a handkerchief and a branch to tie up the circulation, managing to keep Sam alive. She looks around and sees nothing, then remembers her mobile phone, but no signal, just like Sam's mobile phone. In his things, she finds a lighter and puts it away. There's no one there to help her. It's surrounded by mountains and trees. She gathers her strength, removes her wet clothes, and tries to stay as dry as possible so that she can walk to a higher point and try to find a signal. When she gets there, her vision stretches far and wide, but there is no sign of civilization, just mountains and trees in every direction. No sign or any help available. She goes back to the edge of the lake and looks at Sam, but he's still unconscious. She tries to light a fire, but the lighter doesn't work. Liv has no survival experience whatsoever, so she rummages through the other pockets and discovers 2 cereal bars and a bottle of water that Sam had given her while they were flying. With night approaching, she gathers some bushes to protect herself that night and keep warm next to Sam. The next day, she realizes that Sam is still asleep and checks the wound. She gathers some stones to try to make a fire, at which point Sam wakes up complaining of great pain. She asks him not to move his leg, and this time he says that the pain is in his stomach. When she checks, she realizes that there is a hematoma all over his stomach. It looks terrible. Sam, disorientated, asks about the plane, and Liv tells him everything that has happened and that they should wait for help, thinking that they sent out a distress call before they crashed. Sam, worried about his suitcases and his friend, reveals that no one is coming to that place because he lied when he said he worked for National Geographic, and absolutely no one knew about their trip. Without any strength, Sam, in his last words, tells her that unfortunately, she is alone. With the seriousness of the situation, with her gaze lost, she looks towards the lake and sees a picture of an ultrasound scan, which reveals that she is pregnant, and that this was the real reason for her trip. Liv has only one choice to try and stay alive. She decides to try and get help by concentrating on getting a satellite phone and the radio that are inside the airplane at the bottom of the lake with the freezing water. She prepares herself by taking off as many clothes as possible to enter the lake, but with only 2 pieces on, she changes her mind and comes out groaning from the cold. From there, she goes after some logs to make a raft, but with minimal experience in handling them, she gives up and prepares to spend her second night in the forest, eating a small piece of the bar and drinking some of the water. On the third day, she finds the strength to remember conversations with her boyfriend and the death of her father, and tries once again to reach the airplane, this time with no clothes on and only a tree trunk. She makes her way across the lake to where the airplane is. She pulls in a lot of air before plunging into the freezing depths. When she arrives at the airplane, she tries to find the satellite phone, but ends up grabbing what she sees first in front of her, 2 rucksacks. She then makes her way to the surface and attaches the rucksacks to a tree trunk. Once again, she struggles to reach the radio, but when she finds it, she doesn't have enough strength to pull it out and soon gives up when she is startled to see the pilot's face. She takes the opportunity to grab another rucksack from the cargo hold, but her foot gets caught in the safety net. Out of breath and having to endure the extreme cold of the depths, she struggles to free herself. When she finally breaks free, she struggles with all her might to reach the surface. When she reaches the trunk, there is no more strength left. Her body is fighting hypothermia, and she fades away for a moment without strength, but is woken up by a memory of her father waking her up when she was younger. From there, she goes to the edge of the lake, completely worn out, and while she's swimming, she hears a roar. There's a bear on the edge of the lake. The animal has been attracted by the smell of the cereal bar. Liv shouts at the animal to chase it away, while it eats all her bar, and even defecates in front of her as before leaving. But the greater danger is next door. Sam's body, even though covered, attracts the animal, so she from the lake tries her best, shouting and swearing at the animal to chase it away, and soon it's gone. At the edge, she checks what's in the bags, starting with her own, where there's a laptop, charging cables, letters, dental floss, thread and a needle, a fountain pen, cards, her glasses, a mirror, and a pair of earrings. When she opens the 2 guys' bags, she discovers something that surprises her and explains why Sam told her that before he died. The bags are full of bundles of cash and oxycodone hydrochloride, which reveals that they were both drug dealers. Moments later, she drags Sam's body away from the area and buries it. When she returns, she looks at the suitcases and immediately has the idea of using her glasses to try to make a fire with the money notes. She waits until the notes catch fire and then uses them on dry branches, excited at finally being able to make a fire and spend her third night there. Night falls, and there in the absolute silence, she is overwhelmed by a voice, which takes on the identity of Sam, telling her that her happiness will be short-lived and no one will come for her because no one cares about her. 2 more days there without food and she will be like him, underground. The next day, when she wakes up, she keeps the fire going, but Liv is completely starving and thinking about how to feed herself. She remembers the day she found out she was pregnant, and the doctor telling her that she should avoid eating various things, including fresh seafood, some fruit, alcohol, and only drink filtered water. She empties the drug container so that she can fill it with water by stream. As she fills it up and looks at what the water looks like, she looks up, trying to identify where that stream comes from. Images of animals urinating, microorganisms passing through the water pop into her mind, and she soon realizes that she will need to boil that water. But in which container would she boil it? She walks through the forest trying to find something, and there she manages to find the remains of the airplane that were left in the forest seconds before it crashed into the lake. She puts together some pieces of aluminium and with stones tries to shape them until the water is in the center, so she can put it on the fire and boil it. Once this is done, she has just one more problem, which is getting the aluminium out without burning her hands. And without success, she prefers to make another small fire, so that she can put out the fire that is boiling the water. But as she burns some more money, she is haunted again by Sam's voice, which this time tells her that that money has an owner, and that although the flight wasn't registered, they can try to find it. She doesn't care and takes her water after hours of trying. But that's not enough to satisfy the hunger of a pregnant woman on her 4th day without food. So she starts trying to catch fish with her bare hands, but of course to no avail. Then she comes up with an idea. Using a piece of dental floss, she attaches it to a branch, and at the end of the floss she attaches her earring. She waits patiently until she manages to hook the fish, but the strength of the fish is much greater, breaking the line, and she leaves in a rage, saying that it's better this way, because she can't even eat fish. So she goes into the forest in search of something to eat. She walks around a lot until she finds some small fruits. She finds 3 types of fruit, which she separates into containers. Her conscience keeps thinking about what the doctor said about avoiding wild fruit. And to add to her tension about eating it, Sam says that she could die if they are poisonous. Liv has no way out, so she tries them all, and because of the taste she decides to eat just one. Her decision backfires the following night when she feels sick and throws the fruit out. When she goes to sleep, Liv has a dream, a direction for her, seeing the bear feeding, and it moves her a lot. The next morning she goes to Bear's feces to see if she can find any traces of his diet. And with the same fruit she picked, she manages to identify the same ones that Bear eats. This time she tries to take precautions, boils the fruit to eat and waits to see if it will harm her. And this time she's fine. Soon she's picking more of them, and while she's picking, rain starts to fall. So she immediately runs back so she can get as much rainwater as possible into the drug vials. After the rain has passed and the light of the end of the day is gone, she has an idea. She sets off through the forest, marking the path with plastic so that she can return, heading for the top of the hill to see if there is anything in that area that she hasn't been able to see during the day. Sam's voice continues to surround her and always diminishes her ideas. But up there, after a distant mountain, there is a flash that can be seen in the clouds of that night. On her 5th day, early in the morning, she prepares all the materials that helped her survive there, follows the path of ribbons to reach the mountain again, and to be able to record the direction more clearly, and then sets off on the hike, which should take about 3 to 4 days, according to Sam's voice at her side. As she continues into the forest, after walking for a while, she finds something, a boot print, which surprises her, and she tries to call out to someone. But as she walks for a while, she sees the red ribbons again, which unfortunately were hers, as she was walking in circles. So she goes back to the mountain to locate herself. Up there she is again disturbed by Sam's voice, which always makes her doubt that she can do it. But up there she remembers a lesson she took when she was very young, where her teacher explained to her how to use a homemade compass. Liv then goes straight to the lake and takes the sewing kit with needle and thread out of her bag, putting the needle in the middle of an air plug so that it can float. But it doesn't work in the water. She thinks some more and remembers an important detail that her teacher told her. It can only work when it's magnetized. So she looks in her bag for something, but nothing that comes close to a magnet. And with Sam always near her, she turns her thoughts to him and remembers the watch he put on her tombstone. And with this watch that has a magnetic bracelet, she manages to make the homemade compass work. Place for good, never to return. She crosses out on the log where she counted the 5 days she had lived there, letting her know that she had been there. On the way, as she walks, always checking her compass, she starts to feel tired and realizes that she needs to get rid of the weight of her backpack. So she decides to put down her MacBook, and as she walks she gets rid of other things that are irrelevant to her at the moment. After a long walk, and so tired that she starts talking to herself, remembering frightening moments, she finds the money notes she dropped again. Her compass has become demagnetized, and the entire path she has traveled will have to be retraced, because she left her watch in the lake, thinking she wouldn't need it anymore. And before she can return, there she hears sounds that would be the bears, and Sam's voice returns, demeaning her and making her feel completely insignificant, not knowing how to do anything right. Knowing that it's all in her head, and tired of it, she gets angry, telling him to get out of her head. At that moment, a branch broke, and frightened by it, she tried to climb a tree, only to get stuck after not being able to climb properly. And luckily for her, what was nearby was only a raccoon. While she's lying there laughing at her fright, she hears an airplane passing by. She immediately picks up the mirror and runs off, trying to get the airplane's attention. But on the way, the ground she's on collapses and she falls from a dizzying height between two rocks, injuring her head and getting stuck with a heavy stone on her leg. With no chance of staying alive, Liv is very weak and delirious, causing her to think back to the sad relationship she had with her parents, almost going mad and being disturbed by her mother, who tells her that there is always a way out, looking at the Oxy Frank next to her, suggesting ending everything there. But once again she refuses to give up and tries very hard to break the rock above her with a smaller one, managing to break off part of it, which allows her to push herself up and free herself from the rock. But down there's no way up the rock. She's trapped with no way out. She's only left with the madness of taking her own life. But the image of her daughter's ultrasound brings her energy. Endeavoring to find a way out, she finds a crack, which leads to the side of a mountain, and as she tries to move, the rock she's standing on shifts, causing her to fall over trees, trying to grab them before she falls. On the ground, as she tries to move, she realizes that her leg has twisted and there are bruises on the side of her stomach, as well as her hands being badly scratched. She finds the strength to stand up, leaning on a branch, then remembers that she has to go north, and knowing that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, she guides herself and begins her walk again. Liv this time is much weaker, having a hard time walking, having to stop several times. There's not much energy left, so she sleeps anywhere until the next day. She continues the next day, being chased this time by the voice of her boyfriend and father of her child, who strengthens her thinking, telling her that she should just keep walking. But Liv is completely worn out, and all she can think about is that she will wither away. Her partner Danny follows the path as a comfort to her, telling her that she'll be a good mom. A shower of rain falls, so she lies down and drinks the water, relaxing and sleeping, trying to recover her energy. After continuing her walk, she comes across a stream of a river and sits on the bank to think about what she's going to do, and only decides to make a decision after her late father comes into her head to say that she was always a girl who was looking for answers. That's why she trained as a lawyer, that she always wanted to have order in her life, something that he and her mother didn't teach her. Liv only makes her decision after asking herself if she's ready to be a mother, and hearing from her father that it's something you don't prepare for, you just give in. Diving in, letting yourself be carried away. She enters the stream with all her memories, leaning on a log, being carried along for hours, trying to overcome all the obstacles, losing the log in the rapids, giving up, dropping everything, just being carried along, drowning. Until she was found by fishermen in an area. They tried to revive her, bringing her and her son back to life. Don't forget to support the channel. Subscribe, like the video, write what you thought of the film, or continue here by choosing one of the videos on the screen. Here's a summary of the film. See you next time.